Hello and welcome to Gaming History 101. My name is Sasha and I'll be your host today. This is the e-reader from Nintendo. Nintendo released this in Japan and North America in 2000 in Japan and 2001 in North America. What this is basically a hardware add-on for the Game Boy Advance where you swipe cards and you can play games, listen to music that's pre-recorded into the data on the cards, which I'll get into in a little bit. And you could also add data to your games on the Game Boy Advance and on the GameCube with the use of the Game Boy Advance to GameCube link cable. I have to say, this is one of the most interesting ideas that I've ever heard of in the gaming industry, and I think this could have potentially been one of the most successful if executed properly. However, it wasn't, and as time shows, it wasn't very popular, and the rest is history. So without further ado, let's take a look at this add-on and see what makes it tick, how it came about, and why it failed. Let's go. In December 2001 in Japan and September 2002 in North America, Nintendo released this beast as an add-on to your Game Boy Advance. Two versions were released in Japan as opposed to the one version that was released in the US. The first one was the Card e-reader, which had no link cable support, and the Card E+ reader, which did support link cables, and is also the one released in America that we know of as the e-reader. The e-reader read special cards that came printed with these strips of dots called dot codes, developed by Olympus Corporation. These codes allowed you to do various things with the e-reader, such as find extra information on Pokemon cards, play games, listen to music pre-recorded on the cards, etc., etc. They also added additional content into your games, such as new levels, extra items, or playable videos. It was almost like DLC in its execution. In order to add the extra content, however, you would need a Game Boy Advance link cable and another Game Boy Advance or a GameCube. From there, connect link cable plug 1 into the game, and link cable plug 2 into the e-reader. On the Game Boy with the game, simply connect the cable and go to the screen with the e-reader connectivity. The Game Boy with the e-reader would need you to go to the Load App section, and then you need to select which one you're downloading the information on, whether it be a Game Boy or a GameCube. The game will then install the program onto the e-reader so you can read the data from the game or the application that you are trying to put e-reader content into. Let's take a look at the physical shape of the e-reader. The e-reader is about 4.25 inches long horizontally and about 3.75 inches wide horizontally. It's colored gray and black and is basically a credit card reader but for Pokemon cards. For its size, it doesn't weigh all that much, surprisingly. However, when combined with the Game Boy Advance, it definitely feels heavier towards the cartridge slot and looks ridiculous at the same time. With the Game Boy Advance SP, the same thing happens, but only towards the bottom since the cartridge slot is on the bottom. And when it's on a DS Lite, well, here's all that needs to be said. On a Game Boy Micro, it looks even more ridiculous because the e-reader is about the size of a Game Boy Micro and a half. Now, let's take a look at some of the games that the e-reader was compatible with. First off, the e-reader allowed you to play NES games released on dot codes. All of the games were direct ports of their NES counterparts, minus the multiplayer compatibility for obvious reasons, because it's not a multiplayer thing. All of these games were re-released on the Wii Virtual Console under the NES section, and Excite Bike, Donkey Kong, and Ice Climbers were all released on the NES Classic series of games released on the GBA. Next there was Manhole-E, which was a port of the Game & Watch game of the same name. Fun fact, all of the Game & Watch games ever released were supposed to be released on the e-reader with the use of dot codes. However, Manhole-E was the only one that came out of the door at Nintendo. The Pokemon Battle E cards were released for use with Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire. These cards allowed the player to load up special trainers to battle or to get special berries. In Japan, the series was sold as 6 sets, each with a different theme, with 10 cards in each set, 8 trainers, 1 berry, and 1 checklist. In the United States, however, the series was packaged together to have 2 themes per pack. In addition, 2 promo cards, 1 for each version, were packed in with the games. The cards are loaded into Ruby and Sapphire through the Mystery Events function once unlocked. arguably the most famous E-card for Ruby and Sapphire has to be the Eon Ticket card, which allowed you to go to an island and battle some legendary Pokemon. There were also additional Battle E-card sets released for Pokemon Fire Red and Leaf Green and Pokemon Emerald in Japan, but because the e-reader was discontinued in the United States by the time these games released, they were never released outside of Japan, and the e-reader functionality was removed from all non-Japanese versions of the games. Pokemon Colesseum had e-reader support as well. There is a Colosseum at the back of Phenac City. There are two large doors, which in the English version leads to the same arena. However, in the Japanese version, the right door goes to the arena, while the left door leads to a special e-reader area where players can scan in extra cards to battle additional trainers and capture 3 more shadow Pokemon. In Pokemon Pinball Ruby and Sapphire, there were 4 cards released that were exclusively compatible with the Japanese version, and these cards do not add any new features to the game, but only tweak the difficulty levels or increase odds of certain events happening. The Deluxe Mode card made Pikachu and Pichu save the player's ball more often. The 2 area cards either increase the likelihood of finding Jirachi's area, or increase the ball save time. The extra Pokemon Get card increased the likelihood of encountering Chikorita, Cyndaquil, Totodile, and Aerodactyl. The Japanese Game Boy Advance Mega Man games used Card E-Reader Plus cards to customize the game with the E-Reader Plus. The cards caused various effects to occur, such as base HP abilities, buster changes, charge shot modifications, and B+ back abilities to be affected. The cards cannot be used on the English versions of the games, and the only way to get the cards' effects in the English versions is through various devices like Codebreaker, Action Replay, or Game Shark. Probably the game that used the e-reader the most, and arguably the most properly, is Super Mario Advance 4 Super Mario Bros. 3. This game had everything. It was basically the poster child for everything that the e-reader could do. It could transfer pre-recorded gameplay videos that were made by what I assume were the developers. You could also get extra power-ups, and you could even get entire new levels into this game. Like, entire new levels that nobody's played before. Well, everyone who had an e-reader played them, but, you know, that's besides the point. The e-reader was discontinued in 2003 and 2004 in the United States, and all the way in 2008 in Japan, which is crazy considering that the Game Boy Advance was only discontinued in 2009, I think. Yeah, that sounds about right, 2009. It was never released in Europe due to the poor performance of it in the United States. In Japan it did a little bit better, but I don't think it did too well to warrant a European release. There's a small dedicated hacker group that have cracked the code of the e-reader and have actually managed to figure out what makes these dot codes work, and they've even made their own levels and ported other levels from the Japanese version to the US version of Mario 4, and they've made them work, and I think they've even made their own levels. So if you're really interested in that, I'll leave a link to their website in the description below. I think it was down when I checked it last, but I'll figure it out. If you like this video, be sure to click right here. I think I'm trying out something new, these new little box things. I think I'll like them, I don't know, but if that doesn't work, click up here in the card to see the last 2 videos I uploaded on this channel, as well as my social media links, or ats, right here. And yeah, be sure to tweet at me, comment on my Instagram, or comment on the YouTube comment section what you'd like me to make a video on, and if I like the idea, I'll try to fit it into the schedule, and if I don't, well, too bad. I'll try to do it anyway, unless I really hate the idea. But if this is where we part for today, this has been Gaming History 101. Thank you so much for watching. Peace.